Morning. So this is one of the tricks I use to do in-bed composting for my garden. So this is for a small pot, okay? For my bigger pots or containers, I use a yogurt container, big yogurt container, coffee containers, the ones where we buy coffee. But this is very simple process. You take an empty plastic bottle. I like to take off their label just because, I don't want it gets really hot here. I don't want it melting. I know the bottles don't melt, so not yet. So you take it off, right? And then the bottom, if there's any water or whatnot in it, you can throw it away or you can keep it, doesn't matter. So this part will go down, okay? And this part will face up. The bottom will face up. This part will go down. So the, whatchamacallit, earthworms and all can enter, yeah? And here, I will be cutting the top part. You don't want to cut it completely, only enough for it to be able to do that. Okay, I'll cut it a little more. Making too much noise here. Hello. There you go. So it's still going to stay closed, but this is where you're going to put all your veggie scraps. I have 2 bottles here, which I've been using for a while. This is from the $5. You know what is under there? Not dirt, okay? It's coffee grounds. Yeah. So I have 2 of them, which I keep on my kitchen counter. They were like $5 from the $5, $3, $1 section in Target a couple of years ago. So I use them. So as soon as I have coffee grounds, eggshells, veggie peels, I just keep popping it in there. If I wash anything with vinegar water, veggies or whatnot, to clean them, I pour that in there too, because vinegar has a special ability to draw those nutrients and calcium from the eggshells into that water. Also, when I make rice, Indians, for the most part, we strain our rice. We boil parboiled rice, and we call it kanji water, and it's really rich in starch and sugars, and it is so good, especially when it's a little fermented, for most plants to grow and thrive, because they help with the microbiome in the soil. So all of that will go into these bottles, and when it's full, I go back and fill in all these, which are inside pots, my big or small pots, and then I add a little bit of soil in between, or mulch, okay? And then you'll add water. So every time I water through here, so the earthworms can go in here, and you add all the veggie scraps and all your kitchen waste. I don't add any non-veg, only veggie scraps, eggshells, coffee grounds. That's it. Now the sides, I'll show you something else. I have a soldering iron I'm going to use to poke holes. I do the same process whether it's a yogurt container. I don't have a yogurt container, so I'm just going to use my coconut oil container, parachute container as example, right? So if it's a bigger one, I'll poke holes, same like on the small ones. One thing, it will allow the drainage of all the nutritious stuff from the sides too. So if it is sitting in a pot like this, if this is the pot, if it's sitting like this, it's able to provide nutrition and water to all the soil around it. So I'm going to be poking holes in this too, okay? All right, we're here. This is my soldering iron. So it's plugged in. You see the light, that means it's on. You might even see a little smoke-like thing coming out of it when it heats. It's very important that you are in a well-ventilated space, because you're going to poke holes in plastic, right? And you don't want to keep inhaling it in a closed place. And I also have a tissue paper to wipe the soldering iron end. When you poke through the plastic, some of the plastic melts around the soldering iron, and you want to keep wiping so it's not too toxic. All right, so let's see how we're going to do this. I'm not going to look at you because I don't want to burn my hand. It's so easy, especially on this bottles. It's so easy because they're like very thin and flimsy. If it's a yogurt container or coffee container, it might be a little more, resistance. That's it. So you just poke holes like that. You see how easy it is? You have to be careful and pay attention so it doesn't slip and slide onto your hand. Because guess what? If you have ever gotten a burnt by glue gun or a soldering iron, so you see how it's doing that? That's all the plastic. So you want to wipe it down, and I use the tissue paper and I make it like in different folds so it's thick, because you are going to burn your hand otherwise, and I'm telling this from experience. Now, I'm not new to cooking, gardening, DIYing, okay? So I have had my fair share of cuts, burns, scrapes, and it doesn't really bother me because I've been a mom for a long time and I've been cooking for a long time. I've been using knives and, hot tools for a while. So I'll be business as usual, but if this is your first time using it, be very, very careful. Don't do anything. Just concentrate on it. Keep it away from your hands when you poke holes, because these things can be slippery when you're trying to poke holes. You saw how easy it was for this, but if it's a thicker container, you might have to apply a little more force, So in those cases, it's so easy for it to slip towards your hand. So pay full attention. I have burned my hand, a little bit of soldering iron. It's similar to the burn you get when you iron your hair, using a hair iron, and it touches you, that burn. That's how it is, okay? But this is like really hot iron. So be careful. And same thing with glue gun. Have you ever had glue fall on your hand or feet? It burns like crazy. It's a similar experience. So be careful if you're trying it for the first time. Now, once these holes are there, right? And then this part goes into the soil. It's going to stay up like this in the soil. So I'll be putting all my kitchen scraps and waste through here and water through here. So the earthworms can enter, break it down, and the soil gets all the goodness. So that is the way I do in-bed composting, whether it's in a pot or it's in a bigger container for gardening, or even in the soil. But in the soil, usually I literally bury the veggie scraps. Those months we are not really growing crazy, or you can really dig deep and bury them and then cover up, and then you can plant on top. But never plant directly on top of matter which is disintegrating. Like, you don't want a bunch of yucky stuff right next to the roots of your plant. Okay? All right. Okay. I wanted to show you the yogurt container situation. I said this already has holes, but I just wanted to show you, okay? So if you look closer, you'll see it already has holes. I don't know if you can see. You see? And at the bottom, there's holes. I'm just going to make it a little bigger. So these are a little more thicker plastic. So you might need a little more pressure, but again, hold, okay? So this one already had a hole. I just made it bigger. So you can see it went through. And make sure you hold it, because you saw how quickly the situation can escalate. And do it very carefully the first time. It's the last thing you want. And then when you're done, turn it off, okay? So it'll stop smoldering, and then wipe it down. Multiple layers, multiple layers. Don't burn your hand. Not worth it. Nothing is worth getting hurt. Well-ventilated room. If you want, wear a mask, okay? If you're concerned. Like the first couple of times I did wear a mask. Now I have a method. Right now I'm holding my breath. How many of you know how to hold your breath? And how long can you do it? So, being a mom and have changed many a diaper and have been thrown upon, I learned how to hold my breath. Plus I'm a nurse, okay? So sometimes you just hold your breath and you can still do stuff for a little bit. Okay, here you go. Bigger holes. You can make the holes on the side bigger too. I don't want to because I'm expecting them to enter through the bottom, the earthworms. And then I keep this part covered. So we'll fill it with all of your kitchen scraps. And see, I already started collecting some kitchen scraps from this morning. And your coffee grounds. And then you layer it. You can either layer it with soil or mulch, okay? And then the worms will get in there and they will compost it for you. And it's what is sweeping out through it, I would say it's like a compost tea situation. And when it's done, you will see, if you fill the till here, you will see the level going down, going down, going down to nothing if you just leave it as is. But every so often you fill it, you know, as your kitchen scraps build up. You will be surprised how quickly your kitchen scraps build up if you are someone who cooks at home. If you are always buying from outside or warming up food, it might be a different situation. But if you do cook at home, you'll see that your kitchen scraps build up so quickly. My husband and my kids know it's a mortal sin to throw away any kitchen scraps. If I find it in the trash can, I'll be like, why did you do it? That's my earthworm stuff. I also add stale bread. So no bread goes to waste in our house. Either we eat it or our earthworms eat it. They love it. Cardboard, they love that too. Make sure you take off any sticky tape. And I don't put anything which has a lot of writing on it, you know, the ink part of the cardboard. You can put all that in here, and that is another thing which the earthworms love. Cardboard, they love it. Don't ask me why. Maybe the carb. So yeah, you can layer it, and there you go. You have your in-bed composting. Now, one thing I want you to be careful is, if you do have rodents in your area, any form, and you're doing in-bed composting, you know, they can get the smell. They're not like us, they can smell really well, okay? So these holes will let them smell it. They can literally come and try to dig up this stuff. So if you cannot take care of the pest, stop them, jail your bats. Put them in jail. I use chicken wire to jail my bats. And pests, termites, not termites, the rats are so funny. Rats, moles, wolves, possum, they're so funny. If you put up like a hurdle, they're like, I'm too princess to do that. They will not, they're such divas. If it's an open door policy, they will come in, they'll dig up your beds, mess with everything. You put a little resistance, you put up something like a chicken wire, or even like a little bit of, you know, any kind of resistance, okay? And they will literally go away. They don't want to work too hard. They go to the next bed or to your neighbor or wherever. I also put pest repellent for them, rodent repellent. They are like granules. We can't smell it, but apparently they can. And I put that also to repel them. Bye, not welcome, right? So yeah, these are a couple of things you can do. So you can do your in-bed composting and not worry about rodents. All right, good luck in the garden. Bye. So here is one of the bed where I'm using the in-bed composting. So you see how big the container is. It's not like a small pot like that. In this kind of pot, I'll use a bottle, a water bottle. In this one, you can use a bigger container, and they're in the center. So I have layered it, and as you can see, on the top it's just soil, okay? And sometimes you get freebie plants there too. And then as this goes down, the level goes down, you can keep adding more compost. You know what these are? This can be used as microgreens. These are mustard seeds. So I spilled a bunch of mustard, and I'm like, I'm not going to throw it away. So I planted it around all my tomato plants, and now I have microgreens in multiple beds. Here's another one of them, again in-bed composting, and you can see my mustard, and then here are my tomato plants. That's another bed of mine, coming along well. Right now the pest pressure is so low, right? My God, in another month this place will be pest central. So these pots were planted yesterday, and when I mean jail them, this is what I mean, okay? You literally jail them in whenever you're doing in-bed composting. you want to jail them. Yeah? There you go.